Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk to you about what it's like when a narcissist has done you wrong. So let's jump in. So a lot of times you don't hear about the other side of it. You always think that the narcissist is doing well. And for a time, they will, in some cases. But this is kind of like a Ponzi scheme. The narcissist is just like a Ponzi scheme. In fact, I would say all Ponzi schemers are narcissists because you have to have no heart to run something that you know is a lie and it's a phony and you know it's taken people's savings and a lot of people are going to be out in the cold. You're not going to find empathic people doing things like that. But the narcissist relationships are the same way. They take everything out from under you as much as they can. Whether they know it or not, their spirit inside of them is a destructive spirit. So when you're in a relationship with them, because of the way they operate and act, you're in covenant with them. So you're part of the falsifying relationship yourself. And because you agreed in a covenant with them, meaning to spend your time and to agree to a relationship, during that time period, you're going to start losing things. Money, finances, you're going to get some debts that you didn't know about come back to you. People that are going to be cutting you off in different circuits that you might have made money or whatever. You're going to have things breaking and money turning to dust. And it's all because of what the narcissist brings with them. It doesn't have anything to do with you except for the fact that you didn't have strong ironclad boundaries, and that's because you didn't love yourself enough. And you gave somebody the benefit of the doubt, which you should never do. And that individual was evil, and probably by the time you realized how evil they were, they had gotten you hooked. Meaning they got you hooked in a trauma bond and had been performing the hot and cold, got you fogged up and gaslit, and probably knocked your self-esteem, self-worth so far down that you didn't know what to do, and you end up staying with them a lot longer than you should. It's spelling, it's witchcraft. But a lot of times, let's say the narcissist, we're just going to go with a generic individual that uses and abuses if it's a chosen source or somebody like a generational curse breaker, they use you several cycles and utterly destroy you, almost to where if it wasn't for God's grace, you probably would have lost everything, right? And even the right to breathe. And then they move on. After you've woke up to narcissism, you didn't know anything about narcissism. You thought narcissism was some jerk and that's it. But you start to look into different disorders and you land on narcissism because they run tracks that are all the same. When I'm talking about a narcissist, it's just like your narcissist because they're robotic, artificial intelligence. They're bio-artificial intelligence with a demon. But when they leave you and they're all happy wearing your energy and they take off, they smear your name and destroy you more. They knock everything out from under you, and then you do have at a point recover. Because you're a generational curse breaker, you recover, and you usually recover well over time. We're talking about now maybe 3 years out of hard work and putting in the work, y'all. Maybe 4 years, 5 years. Some people it's much longer because they don't put that work in or they don't have time to. When you don't have any children like I don't, it was a lot easier for me to invest sometimes 20 hours into this stuff in one day. But nevertheless, they move on. But generally what happens, and what has happened sometimes in the past, they have taken down a lot of really good people and destroyed them, and some of them for life in different aspects, whether it be money, finances, housing, or breathing. They're really destructive and they don't care. Well, they leave you and they're all pompous, but what they end up doing is getting a higher end narcissist, a greater narcissist than they are, and they will lock them down. They will become subservient to them. They may get them bound in some sort of witchcraft to where now they're stuck with them and they can't leave if they want it, almost like they're rooted to them. And that individual could be rooted to the devil, literally. And sometimes it's because of some witchcraft and different spells that they do in agreements. That's why you don't want to get into things like witchcraft. I mean, you know, we used to always think like, who the hell would do that? But for some reason, people do it and they have their own opinions, and that's fine. I can respect that people have opinions on things, but I don't know what types of bindings there are out there, but there are some, I know, that will bind you to an individual, almost like you're stuck with them. And they have absolute control over that individual, and they're bound to the devil. And from there, they actually are a pimp, really. And they get that lesser narcissist turned out and doing maybe drugs and getting them addicted to drugs and sex, and sex, and these are sad situations. I have to say they're horrible. But what's interesting is maybe early on you wanted maybe some sort of revenge, or you wanted to hear some bad things that happened or occurred to them. Really, all in all, in the case of me, I was just really, I think I had some misplaced anger, and sometimes I was a little hateful, but I was upset. You get upset when people use you down to the core and then mock you. And then come back in and do it all over again, you know, the Hoover, several cycles, and you keep giving them a chance. You really wanted to have something with them at one point in time. But after you heal, you may find out some things like this, and they may get caught up in something to where that narcissist does the same thing they did to you. They steal everything out from under them, everything. And they end up in some shelter for homeless. And they start having these attacks from needing illicit drugs. And they want to get their mind off things. They're in heavy depression, and they go out and they start becoming a full-on woman or man of the streets. And this is what happens in some cases. And it's really sad. But at the same time, you will have these people being used by people of high authority as well, like city council members that may be somehow related, that may go down for indictment as well and be connected. It's interesting how you will find narcissists around these individuals because they're heartless and they will do their bidding for money. So it's almost like if you need henchmen, if you find narcissists and you pay them enough, they'll do anything. They'll become agitators. They'll wreck things. They'll misappropriate funds, identity theft. They'll do anything. They don't care. But what's interesting is they don't care about us, but we still kind of, you know, feel bad for individuals in general that had to suffer those types of things. And I think our hearts go out to them. Because over time you get over things, and it's just like, then you may find out something like that. Or really just how their life is going to go. Because it's not going well with the Lord God, you know. And you kind of look at them like it's not going to change. And it's a horrible situation because you may be looking almost at somebody you feel is almost soulless or an unalived person walking the earth. And they could have had so much. I mean, they still can, but they could have had so much. They had so much opportunity. They had so much to give. But instead, they would rather just be straight up taker by any means necessary, and through greed and jealousy, hatred and competition and power and control. And it's really sick and it's really sad, but this is what you will sometimes see, and this is what you will find out sometimes later. And sometimes those people that you would see on the streets, they may have had it all put together at one point in time, and something like this may have occurred that led to them looking the way they are and to the depravity level of what they are willing to do for a hit of something. And it's just sad. And I just wanted to go over that because there's so many times where there's the empath is hearing how worthless they are or how much the narcissist doesn't give a damn about you. But you gotta know, if and when something like this occurs, I would think they would really think of you every single day of their life for the rest of their life. Because you can get, and I talked about this before a long time ago, but you gotta watch what you allow in, because you will get to a point to where you can get your self-esteem and self-worth knocked down so far that you may not be able to come back. And if you do, I mean, we all have hope for everybody, and if you do come back, it's just a lot of work. And a lot of people, if we're honest with ourselves, don't really have that kind of drive. But it's just something to keep in mind because it's a cautionary tale. So thank you for watching. If you give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up, love you all till next time. Peace, we out.